We're back in the kitchen for the Every Bit Counts challenge. Today we're going to water glass eggs and then do 2 food preservation items just from leftovers. We had a YouTube channel barbecue here in Alaska, the first one ever, and so I ended up with a bunch of stuff that didn't get eaten, and I'm going to preserve that today. But before we get going, I want to give a special thank you to my beautiful friend Jessica Milnes from Modern Homestead, Alaska. She is the one who really inspired me to do this video. She does all the things, and her family is amazing. And sweetheart, I just appreciate you to pieces. If you haven't checked out her channel, if you enjoy our channel, you would definitely enjoy their channel. I will leave their little link in our description below. Okay, on with the show. We're gonna water glass eggs. Water glassing is a long-term shelf-stable way of preserving fresh, raw eggs. When you water glass eggs, there's a 100% success rate for 8 months. That means that these eggs, raw as they are, can be shelf-stable, hanging out, no refrigeration necessary, for 8 months before there's any failure of the shells cracking or things going yucky. And after 8 months, there still is a pretty high percentage success rate, like 80% for the next month or so. And it goes down and down from there. Okay, so all you need is very clean, very fresh eggs straight from your chicken. Don't wash them off. They have to be straight from the chicken, because what helps protect these eggs and what helps make them shelf stable at room temperature is the bloom that's on it. And that's just the magic coating that a chicken puts on an egg to preserve the egg while it's waiting to hatch, okay? But we can use that bloom to help preserve eggs so that we can eat them later and up to 8 months later. Okay, now this egg looks pretty clean except for that little bit of yuck on it. It's out. You can't water glass it, because once this gets in the water and in the water glassing solution, that yuck is going to wash off and there's no bloom under there. And so it has to be fully perfect, fully clean, beautiful egg with the bloom intact. Okay, we have our eggs. We need a scale, some water, a vessel, and slaked lime. Okay, now this slaked lime is also often called hydrated lime. I just get it at the hardware store, and I pay like less than $20 for a 50-pound bag of it. For people that are concerned about buying stuff at the hardware store to put in their food and not really comfortable with that, you can also use pickling lime. It's exactly the same thing, except pickling lime comes in little packages and costs a way lot more money. Today I'm just going to use this jar as a vessel so you can kind of see what we're doing. But generally for my food storage, I use the 2-gallon square frosting buckets that I get from the Walmart cake section. And one of those buckets will hold 5 dozen eggs. So I already have, I think, 10 or 15 dozen eggs stored downstairs. But we're going to use a jar so it looks pretty. Now, this may seem pretty scary for some of you, so what I would suggest is try it. That's what I did. I was like, oh, this sounds like weird mojo, you guys. But I did it, and it worked, and we've done it for lots of years now, and it's really fabulous. If you don't know, chickens in Alaska, well, our chickens in our Alaska do not lay over the winter. They are freeloaders, and so this is a way that I don't have to buy eggs. It's very ironic, but usually I end up buying eggs from the grocery store around Easter. You know, same time everybody else is buying eggs. But that's okay. We have eggs all winter and all spring. I'm doing it this way. So this is super easy, okay? You need 1 ounce by weight of this slaked lime for every 1 quart by volume of water. So I'm just going to weigh out my lime here. Okay, we have 1 ounce of it. Okay, I'm going to put it in my 1 quart of water. Okay, and mix it up. Now it will dissolve, but then it kind of separates a little bit, and the lime will settle, but don't worry about that. It's not a big deal. Okay, now I went ahead and already made our 2nd quart up here because you don't need to watch that again. But we'll see if I end up needing, get all that stuff out of there. We'll see if I end up needing both of these quarts. If not, I'll just put a lid on it and save it for the next time. But all you do is set the eggs in there. Just be gentle, okay? And you just kind of stack them all in there. I keep track of how many eggs I put in, especially when I'm doing those big buckets. And then when I'm done filling up the bucket with 5 dozen eggs, I just put a label on it, and then I know which ones I need to use first. If you put it in a 5-gallon bucket, it's not that great. You want to put it in a small enough vessel where you can use it but not have to move it around a bajillion times. If you put them in a 5-gallon bucket, you might find that the weight of the eggs will crush each other, and the number of times you're getting into it, you might find that you jostle the eggs around too much and they end up breaking. But the 2-gallon bucket is perfect. Okay, guys, see? Super easy, right? Whoop. Oh, golly. Trying to catch myself on fire. Good Lord. Okay, let's try that again without the flames. That would be awesome. You know, this is really simple. It's really inexpensive. It's a great way to preserve food. The only catch is if you can get over the fear of trusting it or not. We had to experiment and see. Did we die? Guess what? Not dead. And lots of people water glass eggs. And it's a great way for us to have eggs all through the winter and the spring without having to buy them. At this point, all I do is I go stick it downstairs in the pantry. You want to keep it out of direct sunlight, like I wouldn't store it by the wood stove. Like, keep it cool. But really, like the first year we did this, we just kept it in a kitchen cupboard. It was no big deal. The only other real advice I have for you about water glassing eggs is, you know, where we live, it's really wet and break up. Or I think people call that thaw or spring. I don't know. It's when all the snow melts, okay? So, like when the chickens start laying, then that's not a great time because the eggs are getting wet, the eggs are getting muddy, the eggs are getting yucky, and they don't come from the coop perfectly clean with perfectly intact bloom. And we also don't try to grab the eggs kind of once August hits is kind of the rainy season. Well, generally that's the rainy season. And so we try to do all of our water glassing eggs from maybe middle of June through the end of July because those eggs are clean and beautiful and have intact bloom. So on to the next thing. Okay, yep, me again. Back up just a bit. I forgot to tell you what you do to use it. You just take the eggs out of the liquid, rinse the egg off, and you can use it like a regular. You can fry an egg, you can use it for bacon, you can use it any way that you normally would. I would suggest not using it for hard-boiled eggs because the lime does something to the calcium in the shells, and that has turned out to be a little bit of a mess for us. But other than that, you just use it like a regular egg. Okay, now our next two items are just leftovers from, like I said, our YouTube barbecue. Let me show you the footage from that real quick. We have a fancy, it's not a fancy event, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we have a semi-fancy event to go to this morning. It's pretty early. We got our fancy shirts on. Look, mine has its own name tag. Miss Crystal, Mr. Reeve. Oh, we thought we'd take you with us. Now, I can't wear my dirty old farm boots to a semi-fancy event. I need town boots. Bye-bye. Miss Daisy's coming with us today, huh, girl? Yeah, you gonna ride in the big truck? Yeah, like a big girl? Yeah. Oh, yeah, good girl. We're here at our very first annual YouTube Creators Meetup. Bill from Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead put it on, and Mr. Reeve and I helped out a little bit, and it has gone fabulous.
Yes.
And we're doing it again next year?
Most definitely.
Be there or be square. We met lots of new friends, including Austin from Homesteady. He is a really great guy on and off camera. How do you think it's going, honey?
Great. We're having a great time. We're meeting lots of new people. We're finding lots of cool channels that we can check out. It's awesome.
Okay, guys, this is my new friend, Arlen. He gets the award from coming from furthest away. Where did you come from, Mr. Arlen?
South Alabama.
What?
The heart of Dixie.
He came here to hang out with the cool kids. You having a good time, Arlen?
Having a wonderful time.
Good. So nice to meet you.
Thank you.
He's
Thank
a
you.
lovely man, just so you know.
Thank you, darling.
Okay, Bill, how do you think it went today?
It went really good. We had a lot of channels come out and a handful of subscribers show up. So it's definitely a success.
Woohoo! We ended up with all these tomatoes left, a bunch of onions, and lettuce, which, well, that's a pretty big bin of lettuce. We've been working away at it, but not preserving that today. Since we have so many onions and tomatoes left over from the barbecue, I'm going to chop them all up and make a salsa out of them. This is not an approved method, but it's pretty close, and the science is right on it. Unfortunately, I did have to buy cilantro, even though I grew 4 tires of cilantro. In our kitchen garden, the geese had helped themselves pretty well to it. You can see they did a fine job reaching in and getting the cilantro. So I had to buy some. I'm just going to chop it up. We really like cilantro, and so I'm going to put this whole thing of cilantro in there. And I am not picky, so I don't mind even putting the stems in there, okay? That was like a whole lot of cilantro I planted, you guys. The chickens got in there and destroyed it, and then the geese got in there and stretched their necks through that netting we put around. Little brats. All right, so I have a whole bunch of cilantro chopped up. I'm gonna do 4 jalapenos. I'm going to take the seeds out, and I'm gonna use gloves because I'm really susceptible to the oils in the jalapeno. I learned that the hard way. So I'll get these chopped up, and I'm gonna get 5 pounds of tomatoes chopped up and 1 pound of onion chopped up. So when I get everything chopped up and thrown in the bowl, then I'll meet you right back and I'll tell you what else we're adding in there. Okay, all mixed up, all happy. I'm going to go ahead and link the original recipe that I kind of spun off from. That's from the National Center for Food Preservation, which is an approved method, so that you can kind of see, if you want to, how I kind of veered from that. The original recipe didn't have cilantro in it. They're canning it in pint jars. And I'm going to can in half pint jars because I find that there's just a lot of half pint jars of salsa in our fridge, and I'd like fridge space. So speaking of that, I'm really happy to get these bins of vegetables out of my fridge because maybe in the next challenge video or 2, we need that fridge space for brining something fun. Okay, to this big bowl of salsa, I'm going to add a tablespoon of 2 of salt. This is just the Redmond's livestock salt that I stick in my coffee grinder and grind down. You're supposed to put this in a big pot and heat it up, which I'm not going to do because this is a highly acidic food. And when you're water bath canning, you're looking at the acidity of the food to keep it safe, not necessarily the temperature. Like I said, tomatoes are highly acidic, and then we're going to add an even more acidifying agent. We're going to add lime juice. The original recipe calls for white vinegar, but white vinegar, lemon juice, and lime juice have all very similar pHs. So I need a cup of lime juice, and this is a half pint, right? So it's a cup. This is some lime juice that I canned. So we're just going to dump that in there. And I'm just going to cram it in the half pint jars by hand because that's just what's easier for me. I'm just going to put the salsa in the jar and cram it down and give it 1/2 inch of headspace. I am going to push it down a little bit just so that we get the liquid in there because you don't really want to can things that have a lot of air pockets and that are dry. The heat transfer won't occur. But yeah, so I think if I just squish it down, the liquid from the tomatoes makes it nice and perfect. So I'll see how many half pints I get and then I'll meet you back. Okay, we ended up with 15 half pints of salsa. One of the other things I brought back from the barbecue was some iced tea. I had made 5 gallons of iced tea for our barbecue, and I brought 4 of them back. So, yep. Okay. So, all of the rims have been cleaned off. I'm putting the lids and the rings on, and I wanted to explain to you kind of my thought process and how I'm going to heat this. The approved method is to heat all this stuff up in a pan, boil it for 10 minutes, then jar it up, then water bath can it for 15 minutes if you were doing pints. I have all these beautiful fresh ingredients, and I don't want to boil it for 10 minutes before I put it in a water bath canner for 15 minutes. I also don't want to heat up 2 pans, one with all the salsa in it, and then one again with water. So what I'm going to do is I already have the water bath canner on the stove. The heat is on, and I'm going to bring that up to where it's pretty hot, like right before boiling. Then I'm going to drop all these jars in there so that they can come up to boiling with the water, and then when the water's boiling, I'll start the timer, and I'm only going to water bath can these for 10 minutes because they're half pints. Now my goal in that is 1, preserving propane and energy, 2, not making this be a mushy mess, And 3, I might as well use the heat twice, right? Like, they're going to come up to temperature and the water in the water bath canner is going to boil when the contents in the jar is hot enough to support that. The water's not going to boil if everything in the jar is ice cold. So anyways, that's my thoughts on it. And that is generally when I'm canning, that's what I think about. I don't usually mess around too much with pressure canning because it is the duration of the heat that creates the food safety. But when you're water bath canning, the acidity inside the jar is already enough to make sure there's no germs in there that kills you. And you're heating up the jar just enough to make the seal occur. There's not really any other food safety than that. So that's my thought process anyways, and that's why I mess around a little bit with it. Hopefully I'm gonna try to get all 15 of these jars crammed in the water bath canner. If I can't, I can get 14 in easily and 15 creatively. So if I can't get them all in, then I'll just leave one in the fridge and Mr. Reeve will eat the salsa fresh because he really likes it that way. Okay, so when this water gets almost to boil, I'm gonna put the jars in, let it come to boil. When it comes to boil, I'll start the timer for 10 minutes and then water bath can for 10 minutes and then it'll be done. So let me get that going and then we'll start our next project. But our next project almost didn't happen and let me show you why. What you doing?
I'm packing some grapes for my lunch.
Well, I was gonna preserve those grapes for the challenge today.
Well, I want to preserve them in my tummy.
Well, there's a lot of grapes and I can do something with that. How about you just preserve those cherries in your tummy?
Okay, deal. I thought there was more cherries than this, Mrs. Carlson.
Well, I'm very smart and so I separate it in 2 packages so you have it for 2 lunches.
Oh, perfect.
Bye-bye. As you saw, we had a bunch of leftover grapes from that barbecue also. I think we bought 3 packages of grapes and we ended up with 1.5 coming home. So I'm gonna make grape jelly. And if you watch any of my other canning videos, I am not a pectin person. I do not like box pectin because I'm cheap and this is like $3 and why would I take some fruit that I can pick and a bunch of cheap sugar and add $3 to my batch? But my friend cleaned out her pantry and so I have 2 boxes of this pectin. So we're using it today. We need 3.5 pounds of, supposed to be Concord grapes, but I'm gonna use these red grapes and see how many pounds I get. And then if I don't have 3.5 pounds, then I will just buffer it with these green grapes that I have in here. I'm just pulling it off of all the little stems, make sure there's no yucky pieces in there. I'll rinse them, and then we will get it on the stove, and I will meet you when we're over there. Okay, we got all of our grapes washed and pretty now. They're gonna go in this pot, and we gotta mash them down. I think I'm just gonna start with a potato masher, maybe. Might be disastrous. They kind of bounce back. Okay, so I'm not going to use a potato masher. I'm going to get the immersion blender. They won't bounce back to that. And we needed a cup of water. Also, on a side note, oh, I missed a stem. Since jelly's not my jam, I am going to follow the approved method for this. Because when it comes to jams and jellies, I'm just really not that cool. Okay, let's see if we got the right tool for the right job now. Oh, yep, way better. Mr. Reeve is home. What are you doing?
Hi, Mom.
Petting the dogs?
Petting the Gordles.
Yeah. I have 1 jar of fresh salsa. You want to try it?
Ooh, yes.
All right, come on in. All right, pay no attention to the disaster that is the kitchen. There you go.
Look at that. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Mmm. Can I open it?
You can open it, yep.
You got a beep?
You want to hit it for me? That's the cooked salsa done.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. And I'll even let you dip your chips right into that jar because I know you're going to do it anyways. And that'll just be your jar. And it's totally fine if a little chippy dust get in there because you'll eat it anyways.
You're videoing. I'm not going to get in trouble.
True. Tell me what you think.
Gosh, it smells incredible.
I know, it's good.
Dang geese eating our cilantro.
I know it. Those jerks. Happy?
It's so good.
Ta-da! We'll have to see how the cooked one comes out. But it's real hot right now. You don't want to eat it just yet.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's lava. Okay, back from our detour. So now we're just going to cover it and bring it to a boil and let it boil for 10 minutes. I'll meet you back in a bit. Okay, our grapes are done. I have a thick bottom pot over here with a little metal strainer in it. Now, ooh, mama, that's ugly. Okay, it looks much better in there. Good news. So now I'm going to try to strain this grape boiled stuff through this stainless steel mesh strainer into this thick bottom pan. So let me get this all strained out. See if I cannot make an absolute disastrous mess. And then we'll get resituated here. Okay, I think we got as much juice out of this grape shamoo as possible. And then I'll just feed this stuff to the pigs or the chickens. We're going to add the pectin next. So we add it into our grape juice here. And we put it on high until it boils. Now, when it boils so hard that you can't stir it to slow it down, then you add the sugar. Now, while this juice and pectin is heating up, I was able to get the salsa out of the water bath canner because I want to keep the water in the water bath canner hot so that I can put this hot liquid when it's ready into the jars and right into the canner. And then I don't have to waste so much heat reheating up the water bath canner. So hopefully this hurries up before that water gets cold. But look, pretty good, huh? Ooh. It's boiling, boys. Okay, so it is super hot. I'm going to add 7 cups of sugar and then bring it back to this point where it's a rolling boil that can't be stirred down. Now, I made sure I used a much taller pan than my little Dutch ovens because when I made the berry syrup, if you watch that video, it like I was stirring like the dickens to keep that thing from boiling over. So I got smarter this time. You also want to make sure that there are no sugar crystals along the edges. I know at least when you make syrup, like maple syrup or something like that, maple syrup from extract, okay, that you want to get all the sugar crystals melted, otherwise it starts to crystallize in your jar, like sometimes even within a day. So I'm assuming that's the same for this, so I'm going to just make sure I get all that sugar off of there. Okay, now I just have to wait for this to come to a boil, and I'll get my jars ready while this is heating back up. Okay, got our 1-minute timer going. Ooh, mama, that's hot. Okay, our timer beeped. It's time to get this in the jars now. We're going to leave us a 1/4 inch of headspace and try really hard not to leak hot sugar all over everything we own. It looks pretty. Try really hard not to get it on the rims, because that will not be fun to clean out. Whoop, big mess. Okay, looks like we got 9 1/2 pints, a tiny little 1/4 pint, and a little tiny bit more for the fridge. I was able to use the hot water in the water bath canner again. We're just bringing it back up to a boil. I'm gonna clean the rims of these jars off really good because it's really sticky. Put a lid on and a ring on, and we're gonna water bath it for 5 minutes. So I guess we'll see what it looks like when it comes out. You know, this stuff is so hot that I need to wear my orange canning gloves. I think in the future I would just open kettle this and I wouldn't put it back in the water bath canner. But today, I'm going to follow the rules just this one time, though, okay, guys? Well, it's 6:47 right now. Our friend Bill, who you saw earlier from the YouTube channel meetup, is coming over for dinner at 7. So I better get my kitchen cleaned up, get started on dinner. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and stay tuned for the next Every Bit Counts challenge video. This is not the one. This is not the drawer that you're looking for. Next. Okay, on with the show. That is really crooked, I think. No, it's not crooked. It just looks crooked. Okay, on with the show. My phone is so crooked.